Hello everyone and welcome. We almost finished our smart contract in the last lesson, and in this lesson we are going to look at the view functions. So we are going to use these view functions to retrieve data from this blockchain. While retrieving this data, we won't pay any gas fees. So when you actually execute some code, or we can say if you change the state that has been stored in the blockchain, or we call them execute functions, then you pay gas fees. But if you are just retrieving data, or if you had a view function, or sometimes said query functions, then you don't pay any gas fees. That's because the blockchain in general as an idea is an open database, so anyone can actually retrieve data from the blockchain. The first thing that we are going to create is this vault address. We already have this get vault address, so for this one I'm going to use vault address. It will have one parameter, which is admin. It will acquire vault signer capability, and here we are going to get the signer capability as we did in the previous functions, and then we are going to call get signer capability address from account, and we are going to pass our signer cap, which is going to return the address for us. Next we have the balance, and this will be the vault's balance. We are going to pass the admin address, and we are going to return a U64, and while this function is running, we are going to acquire vault and vault signer capability. Here we are going to get our vault, and then we are going to retrieve the total balance. We are not doing anything different than what we have already done during the execute functions, but these are just helpers for frontend to get to know about our state. Next, we are going to have get total allocated, and this is going to return the total allocation that has been done on this contract. Since we have the necessary field, after we get the vault, we are going to return total allocated. And finally, we have the get allocation, and this time we are going to get the allocation for a given address. Again, taking the admin address because we get the vault through the admin address, and we also have a separate address, and this address will be the address that we are going to look for the allocation. We are going to return U64, and we are going to acquire vault and vault signer capability. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to retrieve the vault, and again we are going to do this as the same as we did before, and then we are going to say if our table, and by saying our table I mean the allocations table in this vault, has this address key. So we are looking if we have this address key, because I want to return the allocation for this address, but if this address is not in our allocations table, then I cannot return anything. For that reason, first I'm going to check if I have this address on the table, and if I have, then I'm going to say table borrow. So I'm going to borrow the value after I give this key address to the allocation. So if you remember, our allocations had a key value pair. The key was the address and the value was the allocation. If I give the key, in return I will get the value. I'm giving the key address here, and I'm giving it to the allocations table in the vault. And this is going to return a reference for me because we are borrowing it. With this asterisk mark, I'm actually dereferencing it. So far we only just have had references, but we can also dereference it using this asterisk. And finally, if we cannot find the allocation, then we return 0. So in total we have 4 different view functions: one to return the vault address, one to get the balance, one to get the total allocation, and the last one is to get the allocation based on the given address. Thank you very much for listening to me on this video, and under this video you are going to find an explanation about the smart contract and what we are doing in this smart contract. So if you want to refer back the code, and if you cannot understand what we are doing in a specific part, then you can use this general explanation as a guide. I hope that this was helpful. In the next lesson, we are going to deploy the smart contract and test to see if it's going to work as we hope. So again, thank you very much for listening to me on this long smart contract, and I will see you on the next one.